Well, hi. Thank you for checking in here on the BDR Lunch Gathering videos. We're glad you're here. We want to let you know that we have quite a few of these videos. In fact, if you go to the BDR site and check out our page, you'll find that here under News and Lunch Gathering, you'll find not only the fact that these educational web seminars are free, there is no cost whatsoever, but you'll find out what's coming up and a complete listing of all the different ones we've had in the recent past and over the past 2 years and a half. All these are good sources of information that I think you'll enjoy. So we invite you to check in, visit with us, and let us know how you appreciate them. There is a little button in the bottom here. It says subscribe. If you click on that to the little bell, you'll get a weekly reminder when new posts are made. And we, again, thank you for being part of our family.
Well, look, 5G, C-band, repack, all this stuff's been going on now for what, 3 years, 4 years? And we're sitting here trying to figure out what the FCC is going to do by giving away to the cellular industry frequencies that broadcasters have used, needed, and are now cramped up at the top of that C-band. So Mark Johnson is with us today, and Mark is going to give us an update on several things. Number one, where we are in terms of the move on the C-band, where things are in the industry. He just mentioned something a few minutes ago that you all want to hear if you're involved with satellite reception. And thirdly, he's got some wonderful pictures that some people have already run into as they try to get ready for this move. And maybe if you haven't made the move yet and you're getting closer to December, you want to pay attention because you could be one of these guys that oops, we didn't plan that far enough ahead. So Mark, fill us in, will you please?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can get up and running here and share my screen with you. Let's see. And let's go here and share.
There you are. We're seeing the whole thing though.
Yep. Hold on. Maybe stop that.
There you go. Now we're back to you.
Just a second. Give me just a second. Let's do the desktop this time. There we go. And run this in mode.
Wasn't something down the lower right corner that somebody pointed out takes these to full screen?
Well, I'm sure I was about to do
Just click on slideshow.
That was my plan. Just go slideshow. All right. Ready from the start.
Bingo. Got it.
Yeah, just trying to get there. I'm originally a Mac guy, and Eric Weiler's got me using Windows, so on my Mac. So I'm still learning where everything is. That's great. Well, you know, the big news on this 5G transition is twofold. Number one, we're near the end of the entire transition as far as Intelsat and SES and the FCC are concerned, and pretty close to the end with the clearinghouse. Just so you know, as you talk about other auctions, you talk about 13G, you talk about the Channel 6 audio. You know, they raised $81 billion auctioning off the C-band. So I'm sure that the people in Washington see that and are, you know, excited about it. So, you know, they see dollar signs now every time somebody talks about auctioning off space. So just a recap, I think everybody has probably seen this little slide from us in the past. 3,700 to 4,200, that's the downlink frequencies, or what we all call C-band. And, you know, we've all worked with for years and years and years. And the major distribution for video and audio to radio and television stations and to cable head ends for since 1981, 80, I think NPR kind of jumped ahead. They were like 79, 80, 3,700 to 4,200 megahertz. Well, 5G wanted 3,700 to 3,980, and with a 20 meg guard band, and that's what they got. The original C-band alliance tried to negotiate that down and keep some of their space, but they were unsuccessful because there was $81 billion sitting out there. So let's take a look at where we're at now. The 5G carriers have actually started transmitting in the top 48 markets. Typically, that's in the space between 3,700 and 3,820. So there are already 5G carriers on the C-band spectrum. The radio carriers were all moved first. So we all moved in the beginning to transponders that were above where 5G would be, so above 4,000 megahertz. Television has been running on red filters because they've needed more transponders until all of the satellites got launched by SES and Galaxy, and they could move to other locations where they could use the upper part of the band. So SES launched 5 satellites, 20, 21, 22, 18, and 19. They report all of them are in place and operating nominally. Same thing with Intelsat. They launched 7 spacecraft. The interesting thing about the C-band, the SES spacecraft, is that they're C-band only. They were not certain that the FCC would, because the FCC was so vague, I guess, early on. SES was not sure whether they would get reimbursed if they added any KU band transponders on the new spacecraft. So those 5 right there all went up C-band only. The Intelsat spacecraft are combination C-band, KU band. Intelsat reports that all their carriers have been transitioned to transponders above 5G. So if you're a television station picking something off of a Galaxy bird, you should be on a blue filter by now. So the entire 5G migration has to be completed by December 5th. And the clearinghouse will be closing out transition reimbursements around that same time. So do not expect any expense reimbursements after that date. Interesting thing is these are some of the orbital locations. The weird thing is SES is on their website, they've got 20 and 18 in the same location, which can't be right, and 21 and 19 in the same location, which can't be right. So I'm still doing a little research to figure out what they're doing with that, but I know that 18 is supposed to be at 103. Intelsat's update. All right, so for them, the program's nearing completion. They had all their transitions done as far as customers moving to the correct frequencies above 5G by March 31st. So that's why I'm saying Intelsat, Galaxy birds should all be running blue filters and replacing those red filters. Relocation payment clearinghouse, they're trying to close out the claim reimbursement process we discussed. Point 3, interference observation. Intelsat believes that they're every time that they've complained about a mobile operator, that AT&T or Verizon has jumped for them. I don't know that we've seen that in practice in the field, but Intelsat says that they have. So they want people to report any interference with their systems before December 5th, so that the clearinghouse and the FCC can get with AT&T. In fact, my understanding is AT&T and Verizon both have direct numbers for and direct emails for C-band interference. Other C-band news, there was a rumor going around. It was in Bloomberg and a couple of other financial news articles before the NAB that SES and Intelsat were in talks for mergers. Funny thing, our SES rep told us, yep, we're in conversation. Our Intelsat rep said, no, I don't know what they're talking about. So it was kind of a weird moment because they were also in court. They were in court over the failed C-band alliance. As you may remember, we've been doing this for a while, as Barry said. As you may remember, Intelsat and SES got together and did the C-band alliance. They put together a whole presentation to the FCC. Chairman Pai told them, yep, great, we're going to go with you, blah, 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 blah. The day of the announcement, he changed his tune and gave Verizon everything they wanted. So the C-band alliance fell apart. But one of the deals in the C-band alliance was, okay, we're going to share 50-50 the reimbursement money from the FCC. Well, Intelsat felt like that deal was killed as soon as Pai changed the conditions of the transition. So SES went to court. Basically, it was $420 million difference between what Intelsat thought SES should get and what was 50-50. So that it continues to be in court, and there's an article on Fierce Wireless about the district court ruling, and that's very recent. Just to remind everybody what 5G looks like, this is a Avcom spectrum analyzer looking at a unfiltered LNB on a C-band downlink. You can see the video carriers in the white box and 5G carriers in the red box. Note that they're usually about 9 to 10 dB according to the distance to the radiation. But usually we see them 9 to 10 dB unless they're really, really closer. And this is what it should look like with that alga blue filter installed. The 5G should be easily down 60, 70 dB because the filtering should be about 60 to 70 dB in that, and then the video carriers are clear. Now this is an alga filter with the 5G that's way too close. You can tell that it's knocked it down, probably a good 10, 15 dB from where it was before. This one and the previous picture are from a radio station in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. And when we originally got there, they had a blue Donco filter on it. And you can see the blue Donco filter is about 9 dB higher than the alga filter was. So the alga filter is built from the design, the R&D that SES and Intelsat did from the C-band alliance. Also, the microwave filter company filter is also, those two were part of the R&D for the C-band alliance. So they're a better product than most products out there. Barry talked about kind of what do we run into? Well, the biggest thing we ran into is interference of some type or shape. We would go to a location, especially one where we had to move the dish to accommodate the transition to higher satellite, higher frequencies on another satellite, and we'd run into, someone had installed the dish too close to the building or the fence, or one thing or another. And this was the biggest time sucker, I guess, in the field, is going out and finding these situations. So as you think about satellite antennas, installing them anytime in the future, CR, band, KU band, try to make sure that you can get a full arc. So basically from somewhere around 80 degrees to 135, 137, and just in case you ever have to move, because what happens is we show up to do this, and the fence has got to be taken down. We're going to do a temporary fence. The fence company's going to have to come out and build a little square there. But we were able to get it done and get them on the bird. They just had some work to do afterwards. This is another one that was too close to the fence, and the solution here was a much taller pipe. So we had pipes that we purchased from Baird in some places, and pipes where we had made locally. But those pipes would give us the ability to look over a fence or look over a building, and we did several of those. You can see that was going to probably hit the side of the building if we hadn't raised it up. These two are in South Florida, and we had to design brackets and braces that go through the wall and have plates inside the wall. These two absolutely did a great job. Both of them went through hurricanes. The one on the left, actually the dish was destroyed, but the pipe was in great shape. It's 140-mile-an-hour winds is a little rough on the dish sometimes. And then more building interference. This one was bumping into the air vent. So we had to get them to redesign the air vent. Another thing we found, and this was a kind of an ugly one, somebody put their filter in with the Mylar film over the front of it, which is really only meant to keep it clean in transport. It's not meant to be a part of the install. And they wound up having some low EBNOs because of that. And even lower EBNOs, biological interference. I think we've all seen this. It's probably one of the first troubleshooting things I ever had to do with a dish back in the 80s was spring came and suddenly ABC was in and out. Well, it turned out to be wasp, and you can see they love to get in there on the L&B or the filter and just fill it up. And then, of course, the biological hazard for the engineer himself is the wasp all over the back of the dish. So we never go anywhere without some kind of wasp spray, especially the kind that shoots 15, 20 feet away. We ran into some mesh dishes. Hate running into mesh dishes because they really are not 2-degree compliant anymore. They don't have enough gain. This is a Sammy dish. In the 90s, Larry Wilkins and Bruce Chestnut put these in all over Alabama, and they were great at the time because they were on 99 degrees, and there was nothing in the 2-degree orbital position at that time. And but even with that, being an older dish and being a mesh dish, we were still able to get a 13 out of this particular downlink. And of course, we had to filter all of our own dishes. So you could tell this, this was a multi-day job, putting in filters on all of our dishes at our facility in Englewood, Colorado. For those of you not familiar with this facility, it was originally an AT&T facility that was turned into a satellite facility by Clear Channel Satellite Services, which got bought by Orbital, and we purchased Orbital. So this is a 10,000 square foot facility, and we probably a dozen blue filters at this location. And this is the Link Up team. Doug Watson on the left, Eric Weiler on the right. Many of you may remember them from networks that they worked at in the past. Doug was at NASCAR, and Eric was at Westwood. And then, of course, me with the boss, and Marcos O'Rourke, who is our newest hire. We hired him at the beginning of the year, and he is just doing a great job as chief engineer for our facility there in Inglewood. So thanks for letting me give you a little update. And, if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, while we're doing that, I'm going to stick this up, and you should be seeing a little quick poll here.
Mhm.
And if you would just take a moment, it's completely anonymous at this point. And we'll see how this works out. In the meantime, any questions anyone has for Mark?
Oh, wait, what's the untitled question?
I don't know, but I chose number one.
Oh, I didn't delete that one, I guess. Oh, well. And everybody's picking choice one or choice two. That's it. Hey, that might be the deciding factor.
Can you go back and add the question after we've all answered, Barry?
Yes, I can.
Okay, well, make sure that the answer to choice one is $1 billion and the answer to choice two is $100.
Oh, I thought it was, are you subscribed to the BDR newsletter?
There you go. But yeah, a lot of you in this group, I've worked with, at different times over time. And I do appreciate each and every one of you. I know that, worked with and still work with Bill Hearn and Larry Wilkins and Wayne Pacina. And I see, and of course, Bert and I have worked together a lot in the past. And Jim Sensenbach and I used to work together a lot when I was at NPR. So I appreciate you. If I miss anybody, I apologize.
I noticed the question that I wanted to ask you here. This is a microwave filter model 20523 that I have in my pocket. You were mentioning this Dawnco and the other one as not being very good. Is that a problem with the blue filters?
Well, what I'm saying is there are some other brands. I mean, even Norset, who makes great LMBs. I buy their LMBs. Their filter is not what their filter and Dawnco's filter were not part of the original Intelsat SES R&D. Alga and Microwave Filter Company were both involved in the original R&D. So theirs are more effective. They went through more testing. They went through years of testing. So
Mark, excuse me, who is Alga? I've never heard of them.
I'd never heard of them either until the folks at Intelsat took us to the facility there in Ellenwood, Georgia, to show us some testing, and they had an Alga filter, and I'd never heard of them either.
Where do you get them?
Where do I get them? Oh, Satellite Engineering Group has them. They have those, and they have the microwave filter. They have both.
And how does the microwave filter compare with the Alga?
I actually like it better.
The microwave filter?
Yep, I like it better. I think their quality control is the best. Alga, we had a batch that wasn't very good. Probably that was back in 2021.
Yeah, when.
2021, yeah. We had a batch that wasn't very good and their paint chipped off like within a week being installed. I
It
mean,
just seemed rushed.
yeah, it seemed like they were in a rush because they were putting out hundreds a week. But microwave filter company, I think their quality control is better.
Is there a particular MFC model number?
You know what, Bert? I'll ask Doug and Eric about that, and I'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Well, the one I'm talking about here is the 20523.
Ever since 2021, Alga's been much better. I haven't had any more trouble with the paint chipping, or haven't had any more that where they didn't perform correctly. And I see Michael Matson, Michael, we saw that a number of times. I just didn't know how to show it. But we tried some dishes that were not 2-degree compliant, and absolutely, there were several of them that did not have enough signal to operate effectively. And as far as the Donco, it's just a matter of 8 or 9 dB. So if the signal from 5G is not too close to you, it's probably just fine. But as it gets closer, that becomes a problem.
Here's a comment in the chat, Mark.
Mhm.
To clarify the poll, we're an LPTV station. Our dish is not 2-degree compliant, and that dish didn't have enough signal after the filter was installed, so the filter was removed.
Mhm. Yeah, we had that situation several times. We saw that a number of times. And I see Josh Hyanga there from Moody. Josh has got C-band dishes throughout South Florida, and we jumped on those pretty quick with him. And I don't think you've had any trouble with your C-band, have you, Josh? I've lost him.
Josh just logged on, so he may not have had a
Yeah.
I was
chance.
finishing the survey. Sorry about that. Yes, we've got them everywhere, and to my knowledge, apart from any like freak interference, we've not had any trouble.
Yeah, he's
But
got
we did
about-
lose about a dB or 2 with the filter, which was to be expected.
Yeah, dB to dB and a half. Anything more than a dB and a half, and we've typically rejected that filter. If the insertion loss is above a dB and a half, we've rejected that filter.
Sorry, I'm late.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
Well, we have 20 out of 37 have participated so far. So I'll leave this up a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And give everyone a chance to get in there.
Well, just, to go back over the revenue situation, $81 billion for the government. And they spin out probably $9 billion to SES and Intelsat, and probably another couple of billion to people who took the buyout. So the government easily came away with more than $60 billion.
Well, considering the news report yesterday that over 200 billion was stolen out of the COVID money, I don't know.
It's got to come from somewhere.
It's almost like there's a window there in Washington that says, come on up and take money. Free for all.
Oh, Lord.
Where do I sign up for that?
With your local Congress critter or a bureaucrat in Washington, I think.
I like that. So, yeah. So if you've got it done, great. If you haven't got it done, now's the time. And if you have a registered antenna, and you did not take money from Intelsat or SES, and you did not take the buyout, but you were going to get reimbursed, those reimbursements need to go in as soon as possible. So, because those were your three options: do the work yourself and get reimbursed, take the buyout, was it $8,500, or let SES and Intelsat handle it. So if you didn't do the SES or the buyout, get your reimbursements in.
Mary Shelley tells us that the Alga is a Canadian company.
Thank you, Mary. I didn't know that. One other point of kind of this issue with everything that's going on around the finances and all that kind of stuff. If you're not in a major market and you're not having trouble right now, don't be surprised if the problem shows up later. We had unbelievably, I couldn't believe it. This was last fall, I think it was. Last fall, we got a call from a cable head-in. It's one of those, kind of local cable head-ins, like Joe's Cable Service for some valley in Kentucky. I mean, out of the middle of nowhere, right? And they were just down. I mean, they were completely down with some of their television programming on their cable system. And they had taken the buyout, but they thought, oh, hey, we're in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's going to put 5G here. Well, somebody did. And it shut that cable system down. We had to go in with 34 filters. It took us a good part of a week to get all of them done and get them back on the air. So, word to the wise.
All right.
Well, either I did a great job or I bored you all to sleep. So either way, you don't have a lot of questions. But I thank you all for joining us. I appreciate your time. And always remember that we're a resource for you. Anytime you have a question about content delivery, if we can help you find something, like, I'll get Bert the information on the microwave filter company unit. I'll anybody else has a question.
Well, you and Karen have been real good at keeping us up to date on a lot of what's going on here. We appreciate that, and certainly it's one of those things, where we have the tech guys who've said we've got to do this. The owners saying, well, we have until December, so give us some time. And sometimes that doesn't get everything done. And as you have shown with the slides, sometimes they haven't anticipated what's going to happen with the dish.
Right. Absolutely. Or, or in the case of those folks in Kentucky, have it envisioned that it's coming.
Did I ask you earlier roughly how many people you think are at this point still needing to make that transition, radio or TV, or do you have a sort of a breakdown at all?
Well, here's the problem with it. The problem is SES and especially Intelsat, but Intelsat is saying, you know, they're done. They've done everything they're supposed to do for the transition. Well, that's good because that involves their satellites, the launches with SpaceX. That involves flying the birds into their orbital positions, you know, doing the checkout and making them operational. That's great. That also means that every group, so let's say a group of TV stations, you know, they got TV stations in 50 markets, decided not to take the buyout, and decided not to do their own. Then Intelsat was responsible for taking care of that, whether it was a new dish or whether it was just filters. All of those are done. Any of those are done. I think SES is probably very close to being done with all of theirs. But there's no way to know about the people who either took the buyout or were going to get reimbursed, because there's no way to track them. Now, I know we've done hundreds. I mean, we've installed hundreds of radio and TV station sites. You know, probably, I know in the beginning we bought 400 or 500 filters in the beginning, and they're all gone. So I've got a feel for how many we've done, but that, you know, that's about the limit of my knowledge.
But you're still getting calls every week.
We do get calls pretty regular. Yep.
So
So
something to keep in mind.
thus this discussion, right?
Yes. All right. Well, that's good. We appreciate your coming along and sharing with us, and maybe one more time late in the year, just before the switch over, you'll come back and give us a status update or something like that.
Yeah, maybe the Thursday before December 5th.
Okay. Well,
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
thank you, and thank Karen.